Hi there, this is going to be a walkthrough of a walk cycle animation that I've created. I'm just going to be going over the basic principles of how to make a walk cycle, and this has been done in Maya. And we're going to start with the 4 basic poses. So you're going to watch me make these 4 poses. So it's the passing pose and the stride pose, and then those are reversed. So here you can see I'm starting out making a passing pose. So with the left leg down, right leg passing. Got a fixed camera set up in the middle, and then I'm going to be using the left panel there to work with. So I have my controls turned off in the main panel and on in that side panel there, and you can see that I am now just reversing the first passing pose. And I'm also going to be using the passing pose as the loop frame. So with a cycle you need 1 frame that is the same at the start and the end, so that the animation loops. So you will see now that I'm going to start creating the stride pose or contact pose. So that will give me my 4 key poses that I want for this walk cycle. And I've started this animation from scratch, and you're just going to be able to see me go through all the stages to the finished animation. So when I'm setting the keys here, I'm going to be selecting all the controls for the character when I key them. So I'm going to have, so you can see in the timeline there we've got 4 keys, and we're going from frame 1 to 50. When you start doing a walk cycle, you can make it, it's easier if it's longer than it needs to be, so you can then scale it and make it smaller, which is what I've done with this one in the end. And now you can see I am mirroring the stride pose, and this rig does not have a mirror feature, so I'm doing it by hand. But if you take a rig, one of the free ones you can find online, then quite possible that you will be able to just mirror your poses and not have to go through this path. So there you see me selecting all the keys and keying it. So I have this in stepped mode as I'm working, and I just, if you look in the graph editor, you can see that it's popping from the extreme. So you're not seeing any betweens, you're not getting any interpolation, and this is just a clean way to look at it. So you're just seeing the keys that you're setting, you're not seeing anything that the computer's doing. And I'm using the graph editor quite a lot just to edit my keys. You can see I've just pushed the spine back a bit to make the character more upright, and then deleted all the other ones and then just keyed it in, so that rotation on the X is just solid all the way through. And now I'm going to tween the 4 main poses. So that means that I'm just hitting the tween key between my key poses, and the computer's figuring out the halfway pose for me. And now I'm just, you can see me using the graph editor here to quickly sort out the legs. So this is the X translation on the leg, so I'm keeping the leg, when it comes down and touches the floor, I'm keeping the position so it doesn't slide to the left or right, but as it's coming off the floor, I want it to move closer to the leg it's passing. There. I'm just bugging that halfway there. And you can see that we've already got quite a lot of walk cycle going on here. I think we're still unstepped. Yeah, I'm just doing the same thing on the other side. Alright, I'm messing with how far across the leg is coming there. So you can see in the work window there, I'm quickly switching between the orthographic views and the perspective view. And I just have that fixed camera on the right there so that I have like an idea of how it's going to look when it's finished. And now I am editing the hips. So it helps with the character. If you're doing a female character, the model often does quite a lot of it for you, but when you've got big hips like this, you can get quite a big sway with them and accentuate the female character. Often when I was working in games, we used to be able to play the male character animations on the female character, and often if you whack the male walk on the female character that's got big hips, it pretty much does it for you, to be honest. You can see here, although I've started by creating 8 main keyframes, so we had the 4 to start with and then we tweened them. Sometimes you just want to take some of them out to get a simpler move. So there's only 4 keys on the hips, and we're just keeping these big simple curves to keep the animation moving smoothly. And you can just see me here basically editing the curve to get the results I want. And you can see that it started out being very straight and boring, and I'm just adding a bit of sway there. We're using the y-axis, so that's swinging the hips. The blow is like making them swing around the lateral axis, is it? I don't know. And now I'm getting a bit of, that's the red, so that's a bit of a forward thrust on the pelvis. And you can just mess around with this kind of stuff and just get it to look the way that you want, and it's basically the principle of the whole thing. Now you can see that I've started to move onto the arms. This animation is, this video is I think around 15 minutes long, which is not how long I spent animating this. So I think I spent, the unedited version was like 4 hours and had lunch breaks and stuff and tea breaks, so it was to take quite a lot of it out. But when I first started doing CG. I think the first thing I did was actually a walk cycle, and it took a long time. And this one took 4 hours. You can see now that I'm starting to move on to the tweaky details, like the dress bouncing here. I'm using the anim picker here, which is just an easier way to get around the controls for the character, which are very useful. So you don't really want to. You can see that I've turned off my controls in the work window, and I had them on at the start. But I usually just use a picker. And that's the bounce on the hair, and you can see that I basically just got the bounce going and then copied and pasted it in there, which is a useful trick. And now I'm just going to start on the boobs. So this kind of stuff, not uncommon to use some kind of physics for this kind of stuff, but I'm just doing it by hand on this one. It's actually, I find it easier just because you have complete control over it, and you can just edit any way you want. You see I've put too much in here, so I'm just going to scale it. And these are just the little tweaks that you do towards the end. I mean, you really need to get the animation to a standard where you're happy with the basic movement before you start doing these little tweaky things at the end. I'm just putting a bit here of so this is heavily edited, the whole thing, so you're not seeing. I think I spent a long time doing the arms as well, because the arms on this character are IK. I would recommend you use FK. It's easier for cycle, but this is a rig that I've done myself, and I like IK, so, and I was too lazy to do the setup for the FK. You can see me here basically messing with the legs, and this is probably one of the things that you're going to end up doing the most tweaking to, trying to get this to work properly. And I just have a floor plane that has a translation in Z on it that I've set to constant, and I'm using that to correct the movement on the feet. So this has been done in Maya. The basic principle for all 3D software is the same. You have timeline at the bottom, and then you're creating your keys, and then creating betweens and editing your keys and betweens until you get what you want from it. So Maya is the software that I started out working with, but I've worked with Max and Blender, and they all work pretty much the same. I use the graph editor in all of them, and the principles. If you can use Maya, then you will adjust the Max to Blender to whatever you're using. And we just go back into the render of the animation. And there we go, that's how I create a walk cycle. And this principle is pretty much the same for games, TV, film, all done the same way.